guy named Chris Robinson, and right after that, she found herself on the road, essentially with Led Zeppelin because Chris was doing the Black Crowes and Jimmy Page record. So there's Kate Hudson in real life with Robinson and Jimmy Page, and she's just come off of Almost Famous. I mean, there was a lot of amazing stuff that happened like that, and there's two or three crew guys that have become lifelong friends from that movie too.
Yeah, I want to jump, kind of jump. I want to stay in the movies, but jump back to baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about meeting Mickey Mantle, and later you worked on '61,
Mm-hmm.
which was one of my favorite baseball
It's really
films
good, yeah.
of all time. Tell me what you did on that, and what you.
I got brought in for 3 or 4 days to recreate all of the magazine covers, baseball cards, things like that were used in the movie. Now, strangely enough, I remembered a lot of those baseball cards from buying them when I was a kid. And we had an actor, Thomas, I can't remember his name, the actor that played Mickey Mantle. Thomas something or other. Having a senior moment there, kids. And Barry Pepper, I remember, played Roger Maris. And these guys looked a lot like Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris. There was one of the guys who was one of the art directors, graphic designers on Almost Famous, brought me in because we had to do a lot of that kind of stuff on Almost Famous and Vanilla Sky. And so I came in and had to recreate these Sports Illustrated covers where Roger Maris is throwing 100 bats up in the air, and fastidiously recreated them. Not shooting someone's head where they're stripped into the old thing. I recreated them from scratch, and it was a blast. It was so weird because Thomas Jane was his name. It was so weird because it was as close to shooting Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris as anyone will ever come, post 1961. So that was a blast.
And you've shot Olympics, which is pretty amazing. What do you think were the most exciting Olympic moments for you?
Well, one of the most exciting Olympic moments for me was not necessarily an Olympic moment, but an Olympic related moment, which was when I had been sent to Detroit by People magazine. I used to have a People magazine contract. I was sent by People magazine to Detroit to shoot the U.S. figure skating championships in '92, and we didn't know who was going to win, but the idea was we were looking at the males, the male figure skaters. The idea was whoever wins, we get them for a story, and as part of the walk up to the big Olympics coverage, which we do every year. What ended up happening was one day I was standing around and someone came to me and said, "Oh my God, Nancy Kerrigan just got hit on the knee." And one thing led to another, and I called my editor, and my editor said, "Forget the males. You are going to hang with Nancy Kerrigan. You're going to, we're going for a cover, boom, boom, boom." And somehow I managed to get a hold of Jerry Solomon, who is Nancy's agent. And the next night, before she went to Detroit, or before Nancy went back to Boston from Detroit, because she couldn't skate, she actually posed for a People cover for me. And this is this is the biggest news story in the world. And I didn't have any lights with me or anything because we didn't think we were going to be shooting a cover. So I rented some last minute stuff somewhere, and it wasn't really good. And we managed to get Jerry and Nancy to allow me and the writer to tag along with them back to Boston. I was at with Nancy at her doctor's the next day when she went in to have her MRI done. And I have pictures of her on the thing where she's going into the MRI thing, which used to have to shoot through the window because all the metal from my cameras would not have worked well with the big magnetic resonance machine. At any rate, and I spent that day with her, and then the next day when she went in to the doctor's, and she's actually looking at the MRI results, and the doctor's telling her, you're going to be okay. If this would have happened an eighth of an inch over, you would probably never have walked again properly, much less skated. And then a couple days later, I think it was a couple days later, it was shortly thereafter when she finally got back on skates. We flew back to Boston, did a Time magazine cover, another People magazine. Then we shot the People magazine cover. It was a Time International cover. I was like the go-to guy for Nancy. And a couple of years later, Jerry and Nancy ended up getting married, and I shot their wedding for them. One of 5 weddings I've done. 1 for Nancy, 2 for Ozzy Osbourne, and 2 for Bruce. So that was pretty amazing being in the middle of that whole Tanya and Nancy thing. And the movie has just come out. The I, Tanya movie has just come out, and it just brought me back to that time.
Have you seen the film?
No, I haven't seen the film. I don't go to movies that much. I'll get around to it when I get around to it. But I love Margot Robbie. That's probably my most memorable Olympic moment. I've done 4 Winter Olympics and 2 Summer Olympics. And Olympics are hard. There's a lot of schlepping around, and for Winter Olympics, a lot of what I would end up doing is women's figure skating because that's the glamour event. And but you gotta be ready for anything, and schlepping all that equipment back and forth everywhere, unless you're shooting for Sports Illustrated, which I would do for, because I was a Time Inc. guy. I'd get my credential, and I'd normally be shooting for People most of the time, and then the last 2 or 3 days of the Olympics, I'd move over to SI because most of the big SI guys would leave after. What was it? The steeplechase was the last big. Whatever the last big summer event before the closing ceremonies, they'd keep me on as an SI guy as an insurance policy in case anything horrible happened or big happened, because the main guys would then fly back to the States, because they'd have to get ready for NFL Sunday or Major League Baseball, whatever. So I'd usually get 2 or 3 days of shooting from SI too.
So is film, music, special events,
sports?
Sports. I mean, is there another area that is there an area that you haven't really shot in that is kind of on your bucket list?
No, I mean, although I am going to do something coming up this year that I've never done before, which is I've gotten asked and I've said yes to the USO to go to Afghanistan. And it's not a bucket list thing, but it's something different. And I guess a friend of mine who was our military Air Force liaison between the production company and when we were in Hawaii shooting Aloha, and the Air Force at Hickam Air Base, we had to have a liaison to, I know I'm just speaking in dangling participles here. We had to have a liaison. You don't just walk on the Hickam Air Base and start shooting whatever you want.
You have to have a handler.
Approved. You got to have handlers, and Stagg was our handler, great guy. Because you're shooting. For instance, we're on the tarmac, and I've been major tarmac with F-22s and shit flying around, C-130s, and there I remember distinctly there was this one hangar, nondescript, no markings on it, but I was told, do not get that in any photograph. Okay. Could you tell me what's in there just so I know what I'm not photographing? No. Well, finally we found out that what was in there was all the data from all the satellites, all the spy satellites everywhere for the entire Pacific Fleet would be fed into that building.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that was a no-no. And there were other things like don't shoot the open engine cowls on an F-22 or whatever plane it was, because that was considered classified information, you know, the way the engines were set in to the wings, blah, blah, blah. You know.
So you're going to go to Afghanistan?
So they asked me...
Become a combat photographer?
No. I don't think... I'm past my prime there. Those people are nuts, by the way. No, but I'm going to go shoot for the USO. And there's a couple of shows that they're doing there. And you know what? I'm down. I think it's a great opportunity. I, unfortunately, beat the draft when I was a kid, but, you know, it was a different time. So I always felt a little guilty about that. I know people who've, you know, before and after I got drafted, got killed in Vietnam, and you know, like I said, it was a different time back then, and I just feel like it's at least giving back a little bit to, you know, to my country.
I want to jump back into a couple of tours and big events. The Arms Tour for Amnesty International.
Well, yeah, the Arms Tour. Well, the Arms Tour was the Arms Tour. And Amnesty was Amnesty. Now,
wait a minute. I'm conflating the two.
Okay, the Arms thing was, there were just a couple of shows they were benefits for Ronnie
Lane.
Ronnie Lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just shot the LA show, so I wasn't really involved in that. And then there was an Amnesty, Amnesty event in '85, but there's the one in '88 that I was heavily involved with when we went around the world with Bruce and Sting and Peter Gabriel.
Right.
Tracy Chapman and Usu Endur. That was pretty wild.
In what way?
You know, in the way that we're playing the Ivory Coast and Harare, Zimbabwe, and New Delhi, India, and places that had never seen a big rock show like we had. And we had a big rock show. You know, we had 2 DC-10s on that tour, and one was configured 100% in coach for all the personnel, including the bands. Everyone flew coach. And then the other DC-10 was configured only for cargo. So one plane had all the equipment, one plane had all the people, and we just flew around the world. And every flight, once we got out of North America, every flight was 6, 7, 8, 9 hours, you know. Let's see, I didn't do the first 2 shows, so I did the last 19 or something, whatever it was. So I picked it up in Toronto. Then we went to Philly. Then we went to LA. And then Oakland. See if I can get this right. From Oakland, we went to Tokyo. From Tokyo, we went to New Delhi. New Delhi, we went to Athens. Athens, we went to Harare. Oh wait, sorry, I left out the Ivory Coast. I started I started in Costa Rica. Then we went up to Toronto. I left out a couple. Toronto down to Philly. Philly to LA. LA to Oakland. Oakland to Tokyo. Tokyo to New Delhi. New Delhi to Athens. Athens to Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe to the Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast to Sao Paulo. No, Sao Paulo was the last one. Ivory Coast. There was 2 shows in South America. I can't fucking remember.
Was there one in Bogota, wasn't there?
No, not on that tour. I'd like to say Rio and Sao Paulo, but oh God.
Well, there were 19 of them.
Well, there were a lot of them.
Yeah.
And you know, and you don't have time to really see sights. You're there to do a job, and then it's no one got any sleep, you know. No, and it's every venue is a new experience because these people have never seen anything like this before. I mean, when would a resident of Abidjan, the capital of the Ivory Coast, be able to see Bruce Springsteen and Sting and Peter Gabriel in a stadium with all their equipment, not showing up with a Zambuca or a John Sebastian harpsichord or auto harp. That would be funny. Born in the USA. So it was, you see the world, but you don't see anything. Or as I like to say, I was on the Great Wall of China for 20 minutes with Wham. I was.
Well, I wanted to.
Can we take a little break first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Just because.
Break time.
Yeah, thanks.